the most important characteristic of a leader is empathy. Okay, you have to empathize with the situation, people, right? You have to be full of empathy. You have to be full of humility. I read this article by Naveen Khajanchi who talks about ATM for happiness. And he defines ATM very differently to what we sort of know ATM as. And excellence is a continuous process, and it's not an accident.
Excellence
this is a famous quote of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and that's my punchline actually. I follow it because excellence is something that you have to continuously pursue.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to StartupLanes. This is Geett here. I'm a VP here at StartupLanes. And today I have an incredible personality that I am so humbled and grateful to have an interaction and a conversation with. His name is Biren Shah. He is the CFO of Aurobindo Pharma USA, and he's also a people's leader and an incredible personality, and I'm sure that you will have a lot of key takeaways from this interview. So without any further ado, let's introduce Biren Shah ji. Could you also tell us a little more about your organization, Biren ji, and also a little more about your professional journey thus far?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Geet, and thank you, StartupLanes, for having me on this conversation. Really appreciate the opportunity. Aurobindo Pharma USA is a subsidiary of Aurobindo Pharma Limited India. It's one of the largest, it's the largest generic pharma company in US, with almost contributing close to 45% of Aurobindo's, 45 to 50% of Aurobindo Pharma's global revenues. So it's around $1 billion plus in revenues into generic pharma, and as I mentioned, it's one of the largest generic pharma players in US. Coming on to my journey so far, it's been long and incredible. And honestly, when I started as a fresh chartered accountant, never thought I would be reaching where I have reached thus far. Born and brought up in Mumbai, so basically a Mumbaikar at heart, from a middle class family, and graduated from Nursing Monji College. Did my ICAI chartered accountancy in 2001. Had initial smaller stints in the assurance and advisory at Big Fours before I moved into Tata Chemicals, is where I had some of the illuminating years of my career. Basically, it imbibed the entire ethos and value system at Tata's. They are known to imbibe, they are known for their value systems and ethos. And that's where I grew or learned the entire value systems and drew some strategic initiatives at Tata Chemicals. Like, we were one of the first non-SEC Tata Group company to be prepared for IFRS way back in 2009-10. Managed a few M&A integrations. I think the word VUCA world, which everybody talks very often now, I am one of those fortunate professionals who have had an opportunity of managing through VUCA world maybe more than 2 times or 3 times now. Started with all subprime crisis, so we all managed subprime then, and now with COVID, nobody thought the world would stop. It virtually stopped, right? So was with Tata Chemicals for around 7 years, close to, and then moved to Johnson & Johnson, which is another global conglomerate, into consumer and pharmaceuticals or other healthcare. Leveraged all my Tata learnings and experience and into Johnson & Johnson, multiple roles within India and Europe, right from consumer to pharmaceutical. Started as a controller, moved into business finance, global M&A. Some of the path-taking experiences included, shaping the Indian pharmaceutical market through insurance penetration. We got some of our therapeutic areas into insurance program, and I led that from the front in terms of market access arrangements, healthcare financing options, or risk sharing arrangements and patient assistance programs. Supported some of the pharma launches in India in the space of immunology, diabetes, oncology, etc. And supported improving patient access through pricing and building cases for global pricing approvals and divestitures of few brands. We divested a few brands while I was at J&J. So led the entire divestiture process. Was awarded leadership award at Asia Pacific for the innovation on account of out-of-box thinking on the insurance side and the market access that I led. Also was awarded People's Champion in India and South Asia rather.
This was during your stint at Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, yeah. So I was with Johnson & Johnson in India, in Mumbai, and then moved to Belgium before coming back. Worked with Aurobindo Pharma in 2019-2020 in US before I had to come back for some personal reasons, and then joined Manjushri Technopack Limited, which is an Advent portfolio PE company as a CFO, and also was heading their entire M&A piece. I was deeply involved in the entire strategic roadmap. I mean, it was one of the strategic investments of the private equity here. One of the largest South Asia players in the space of rigid plastic packaging. Touched everybody's lives. You cannot have a day without using the products manufactured by Manjushri actually. So we started with 9 plants, moved into 24 plants, totally in organic expansion, greenfield projects, had an excellent stint while navigating through COVID, right? I mean, all of us had liquidity crunches. All the CFOs across the world faced that during COVID. And I can proudly say that we successfully navigated COVID by managing through liquidity, taking some strong cost rationalization measures. We did good fundraise at that time. We did M&A. Actually, we did M&A right at the peak of the COVID in second wave. So did 3 acquisitions, integrated them, created value for the shareholders. So that's where, one of my close personal achievements also, something which is very close to my heart, where we sort of played important role in getting our people vaccinated. I think India had one of the biggest vaccination drives.
Yes.
And all the corporates played an integrated role while we all got vaccinated. And thankfully, thanks to Advent Group, I was a part of the committee and team which managed through the entire, which supported the entire vaccination program for the portfolio companies. And I led the vaccination program for Manjushri companies with more than 1,000 employees. I mean, we got more than 1,000 employees with their families vaccinated. And it included not only permanent employees, but also temporary employees. So it was more of a social commitment. So yeah, I mean, it has been an encouraging journey, deeply satisfying. And I'm here now back again with Aurobindo Pharma USA as a CFO. So yeah, I mean, it's been a great journey and I'm looking forward to great future as well.
Yes, I can definitely see that through your incredible journey and the achievement that you have achieved. I'm sure you're going to just even rise even higher with flying colors. How do you handle tough situations, Birenji? How do you have conflict resolution? And since you have to take, I'm sure tough decisions throughout the week. So how do you handle so many opinions and, a part of the board you must be. So how do you do that?
So for me, it's all about being calm across any situation, not to lose the temper. I think, as I told you, Tata ethos and value systems, and then J&J credo. And correct. I'm not sure if you have read J&J credo, and if you've not, I would recommend.
I have it.
I would highly recommend reading the credo, because the moment you read it, it helps you take decisions, not only in your life, which is professional, but also personal.
Can you get back at that? What?
So it's a statement which actually helps the organization decide on priorities by which it will achieve the results. Right at the top is patients and the customers. The patients are the key. And right at the bottom, the residual is shareholders.
Okay.
And then it starts with patients, goes to vendors and stakeholders, it goes to employees, the community at large, and then the uh, shareholders. So it defines who comes over whom and
Got it.
guides the entire decision-making process. And if you go through it's a detailed document. I can tell you your personal decision-making, you cannot go wrong. So with Tata's
Gonna keep that
ethos
in
and
mind.
J&J credo, I think that changed my way of looking at things in life. Also, I believe in this whole concept. I read this article by Naveen Khajanchi who talks about ATM for happiness. And he defines ATM very differently to what we sort of know ATM as. And it says A stands for accepting the situation. T stands for taking charge of your thoughts, and M stands for make best of what you have with
I
gratitude.
think I needed to hear that today. Can you repeat that? Please repeat that for
So
us. That's gold mine right there.
yeah, so A stands for accept
Acceptance.
the situation with objectivity, acceptance. T stands for take charge of your thoughts. Okay, be in charge of what you're doing. Take charge of your thought process. And M stands for make best of what you have, the resources that you have. Make best of it with gratitude.
This is such an important key takeaway. I think this is one of the best things that I've had in my interviews so
And
far. That ATM,
this
accept,
thought
take
process.
charge. Yes, lovely, lovely. Thank you for sharing that to me. In fact, I'm
So
going to write it down somewhere and stick it.
absolutely,
We all
and
need
I
that
would thank.
reminder.
It's thanks to Naveen Khajanchi who's actually brought it up.
I would love to
And
get that
because
link from you if there is a book or
I
anything.
will,
Please
I
send me a
will. It's
link.
a link which is there, and I can share that. But it helps you take this again. All these resources helps you take right decisions, right? And as leaders, we have to be calm.
Yes.
We have to be humble, and that's what it's all about.
Now, when you're talking about leaders, how would you define top 3 qualities that you would look for a leader if you're in the hiring position? Like if you were to hire somebody at a leadership role, what are the 3 qualities that you would specifically look for?
The definition of there is a distinct difference between being a manager and being a leader.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and it's a very thin rope. People sometimes confuse being managers with being leaders, but to me, it's a very straightforward answer. The most important characteristic of a leader is empathy. Okay, you have to empathize with the situation, people, right? You have to be full of empathy. You have to be full of humility. As you grow in the system, as you grow in your career, you have to be humble. You learn humbleness, right? Humility is the key, and the resilience. I mean, fold your sleeves, be ready to take any negative stuff on yourself, give the credit to people. So that's how you create teams, that's how you create people, leaders. I mean, that's all Tata way of looking at things, J&J way of looking at things.
I love that.
And COVID actually brought leaders in each one of us. I can tell you there were times where we were all working together, trying to figure out for our people in community at large how to get people access to oxygen, hospital beds, vaccination. I mean, it was like we all taking charge. We all taking charge. So I think to me these are the 3 top leadership qualities.
Empathy, humility, there's such incredible qualities that make a leader, and that is something that is so overlooked in the industry. People
Absolutely.
so this is something that we all need to take back from from our conversation. So when we talk about empathy, humility, what is that one person that you're grateful for in your journey thus far that has made a very huge impact on your psyche and mindset as you grow through your professional and personal life? There's some name that kind of rings a bell that comes on the top of your head?
Personally, it's my family. So personally, it's my family, my wife, my children who've been with me throughout this journey, my parents, I mean, everybody personally, right? I mean, your family comes the first. You see them, you look upon them, the compromises that they make. I mean, my wife is a homemaker though, but the amount of compromises that she makes to ensure that all of us become successful, it's not only me, my children as well, is phenomenal.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that people in positions like you give credit to their wives. It makes my heart so warm and fuzzy, and I feel so good personally. So I love that.
I think that's the fact of life, right? You can't run away from it. And then, when you interact with the leaders that you work with in your career, I mean, I have observed and seen some of the big stalwarts of Tata Group. I have worked with some of the stalwarts of J&J. I have worked with some of the stalwarts at Manjushri. Aurobindo, I worked with some of the stalwarts as well. So all of that, when you observe them, it gives you a lot of learning, right? I mean, all these people that I'm talking to you about are full of empathy, full of humility.
Lovely.
So,
and I can see the same traits in you. I can see, and you waited for the interview. You were not, and you patiently obliged that to do it right now. So despite the tech glitch and all of that we had, so I can see all of those brimming qualities just in you. So I'm so grateful, honestly, to get so many, things that I get to learn myself on a personal level. Another thing that I would like to ask you is, how do you keep up with this ever evolving tech space from the time that you graduated, from the time there's a huge technological change that has added, systems have been added. So how do you keep up? Do you get trainings? Do you keep yourself abreast with, the entire diaspora in the tech space, or how do you keep up with it? Because it's, as a millennial, I'm still struggling, to be honest. So I'm just wondering, how do you guys keep up?
So it's like, I believe on a mantra, which is knowledge is power and data is the new oil.
Yes.
The next thing is all about data. We all talk about artificial intelligence. We all talk about automation. We all talk about, data all the time. But I can tell you, data is going to be the next oil. It's already becoming the next oil. And there are so many developments that keep happening. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you see 10 new things happening daily, right?
Yeah.
So for me, what is important is reading, networking, meeting and talking to people. So when I meet, I talk, I observe people, I sort of learn a lot of things. Networking gets me abreast with a lot of, what's happening across the world, and data, learning and managing, navigating through data. I think all of us need to learn that skill. It's something that comes with experience. But I think knowledge is power. I mean, and there is no second thoughts to it. I mean, we all need to accept that it's all about, next fight is going to be on data. Who owns the data, right? So
great. So we have a couple more questions, and these are a little more personal related. What do you do in your free time? What are your hobbies? What are your passions? And what do you go home and do that makes your inner child alive?
So, I mean, let me put it this way, right? I will put myself pre-COVID, post-COVID, because I think COVID taught us a lot of things as individuals. I think I can tell you,
that was a wake-up call for all of us, I think. Yeah.
There is not a single person in the country or world who has actually not lost somebody near and dear. Okay, we wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Must might have had somebody near and dear whom we might have lost, right? I was very, very workaholic prior to that. Very focused on work. Generally work 18 hours a day, 15 hours a day. Oh my
goodness! Wow.
So it's been very, very work focused career until then. But COVID made me realize that eventually it's everything is going to end, right? I mean, you have a friend with whom you are interacting today, or a relative, and tomorrow he might not be there. I mean, it's happened with all of us, right? So it's taught a lot to all of us. So now for me, the priority is family. Priority is spending time with children. Priority is, learning about spiritualism. So I'm very religious by nature. So try spend some time for your spiritualism, because eventually, I put it this way, that there are two parts to us. One is our body and one is our soul and the Atma, as we say.
Atma, yes.
As a
I'm
finance
into
person,
spirituality
body.
myself. I'm into yoga and
So
spirituality, so I love that.
absolutely. So as a finance person, body is like a P&L.
Yes.
It's gonna vanish one day. Atma is like balance sheet, which will continue with you forever. So you have to ensure that your balance sheet is strong and not focus on a short-term P&L,
Short-term
which,
materialistic goal.
so I think spending time with family, ensuring kids get adequate attention, at the same time focusing on work is what I sort of do.
Lovely.
And I love music, so
You
whenever
like
I'm like
singing?
free, I play drums.
Oh, you play
So
drums. That's incredible.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
So, do
So
you have some sort of like a mindfulness routine or some sort of like a physical, exercise habit or something that keeps you sane when, the tough gets going and the going gets tough? Like, how do you, get your thoughts away and just be with yourself? Because we all need
uh,
that
I
alone
am not
time.
an exercise. I am not an exercise person, honestly. But when I'm thinking, I walk.
You walk. Yes. Yeah.
So
I think a lot of leaders do that. Whenever I remember Steve Jobs used to do that. Whenever he
yeah,
had way too many thoughts, he would just go around the block and then he would feel much more clearer to make the right decisions. So that's a born
absolutely. So
trait of a
I
leader.
walk. The walking gives me energy. It actually channelizes my thought process.
Yeah.
So if I am into something which is like critical thinking, I sort of start walking within the room, within wherever I am.
Wherever you then
Take
that
some fresh air.
gives get some
Take
fresh
some fresh
air.
air. Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely. Great. All right. So we come towards, the end of our conversation here. As you know, Startup Lanes, we are into funding startups. We have funded approximately 120 startups over a investment portfolio of about 350 crore. Our last investment was 30 crores in Burger Singh, and we are still, growing, and we aim to be a VC firm by the end of this year. So, whatever, that you have might be knowing about us, do you have any suggestions or initiative or any words that could help us propel in this journey of our organization?
So I think what you do as StartupLanes is incredible. I mean, it's an excellent platform for all the budding entrepreneurs. I mean, India is a country of entrepreneurs. Whichever part of country you go, you will find people who are full of ideas, who know what they want to do, and you are providing them a platform to ensure that people are successful. So I think the next decade is India's decade, from a growth perspective, from the development perspective, and startups are going to be the key to success.
Yes.
So I think it's an excellent platform, and I would always be supportive of any ideas or any
Would you like to
mentoring.
mentor a few startups that we have, like, and
Yeah.
probably pick and choose if you could help them grow, and if at all that is something of your interest, what kind of startups would you be more inclined to support and see them thrive?
So I would definitely be keen to support mentoring a startup, and probably a startup which sort of addresses a social global challenge.
Right.
Is something that actually gets me a lot of kick. I'm a pharmaceutical guy. I've been into pharma
Yes.
for a while. So to me, anything that impacts the life, the human life, the human way of doing things, is of great interest.
We'll
So
definitely
I'm
keep that in mind as we begin our mentorship program. I will make sure that this point is taken care of. And last but not the least, how do people stay inspired with an incredible personality like you? How do people stay connected with you? How do they approach you? How do they get in touch with you?
So I think people should aspire to be best of themselves. Okay. I'm trying to be better than what I was yesterday. Uh, that to me is the mantra. I mean, excellence is a continuous process, and it's not an accident. I mean, this
Excellence
is
is
a
the
famous
continuous
quote
process.
of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and that's my punchline actually. I mean, I follow it because excellence is something that you have to continuously pursue, and success will follow. It's not an accident. So to me, be best of yourself. I'm always available. LinkedIn is, I think, created a platform which connects you to the whole world. So I mean, LinkedIn to me is a great platform for all professionals.
Sure.
It helps you connect, it helps you get in touch. And then, through all these mentoring opportunities, I would be more than happy to, connect.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Birenji, for taking this precious time out. You're sitting right there in the middle of night, and I'm here in India and you are in USA. But I sincerely appreciate all the important key takeaways and your thoughts on so many different topics from personal to professional. And we here at Startup Lanes are going to sign off right now. I'm going to be back again with another personality very soon on our platform. And thank you so much. I take your leave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.